You've made it. The world is quiet now, and it's just us. Welcome to the Savon Experience Pillow Talk Solo Edition, your safe space to reflect, exhale, and get real. I'm your host, Savon, and tonight we're diving deep. So get comfortable, take a breath, and let's talk.
That's what pillow talk is. Every week I'm pulling up with the real solo. No guests, no edits, just you, me, and the truth. So go ahead, get comfortable. You're tuned in into the Savon Experience. Pillow talk, solo edition. Let's talk.
Whew. It is another episode. We are here again. And before I even begin this episode, I just want to do what I always do. Thank you for dropping by the Savon Experience Pillow Talk to have a conversation with me or listen, because it's not bi-directional. We're just listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for replaying. Thank you for sharing with your friends. And thank you for being a part of this journey. Okay? Now, y'all know Pillow Talk is just that we talking about everything. And although I might get in my business a little bit, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm going to get into it enough if I feel like there's a lesson that we all can learn from it. Because let's just be real. We are all going through some shit, and we are all going through things, and we need each other. So we are going to create and keep this online Spotify podcast village going. Keep us motivated. Keep us moved. Did you know, on episode 9, did y'all feel like my energy was kind of low? Listen, if it was, I apologize. I was just now getting back in town. I had to do this episode to give everybody, keep everything in sync because I made a promise that I was going to be here. Girl, I had to fix my pin curl, my Betty Boop pin curls around this braided wig, girl. And look, baby, the symmetry, come on, skateboard set. Girl, look at these pin. I don't know whether to laugh at myself, applaud myself, or call myself ghetto. I really don't know. I just know I like it. I like the creativity, and I feel like it's really working with the hair, girl. So I'm gonna be real sad when it's time to take this off for me to shampoo it and then put it back on because I'm gonna have to put it back on, girl. But it's a little big in the back. I ain't gonna show y'all that it's big in the back. But let's stay on topic because I like to keep us laughing and stuff too. I owe y'all some information because I think I told y'all on the first episode, and it was a few weeks ago now, if not a couple months ago, I was going to dive more into how did I get here, Grace or Gavel, I believe it was the episode. Gavel or Grace, no, Grace or Gavel was the episode. And wanted to talk about, I had dove deep into transitions, right? And my relationship transition. So some of you may know who've been following me for years, I'm not in the same relationship with the same person. And I think you guys have gotten hints of that. And, to give a little more information around it, things just didn't work out. Unfortunately, it was very sad. It took me about 4 years to make the decision whether I was going to stay or not. I tell people all the time, trust is very crucial. Trust is very crucial in relationships. And so when things happen or things go awry, it's best just to be honest with your partner about it. If you're having challenges about things, it's just best to have that conversation with your partner. If you cannot talk to your partner, then there is a problem. And understand that whatever you talk to your partner about, even though it may not feel good, it may not be easy, but if you respect them and if you love them, you'll do the work. You'll have the conversation. And I say that for a number of reasons because there's a shift that happens in relationships where you start out as friends, you guys talk about any and everything. There is no topic or subject that's taboo, and you can just really share your feelings and views and opinions, and they be received respectfully. But something happens when you fall in love with someone and really value what they think about you and value their opinion more so than you did before when you were getting to know them and wasn't really locked in or just enamored or just in admiration. I don't know what to call it, but something happens when as the relationship continues to build and grow and that love grow and that trust grow, you don't ever want to disappoint your partner. You never want to really make them sad. You never really want to disrespect them. So when things and challenges come about and you start beginning to question if you can talk to them about the situation, I think that's when you should really take a really deep dive into whatever your relationship at that time, and say, okay, something's happening here, right? And I can't talk about it. Why do I not feel like I can talk about it? Do that work first. And then once you understand why, maybe bring up whatever those issues are or reasonings that you've noted to where you can't talk to that person, right? Jot down what it is and then have a conversation. Hey, I'm noticing that, we used to talk about this and other. Now I find myself not really wanting to have like conversations like that because I feel a way. I feel A, B, C, or D, and have an open discussion. Don't have an accusatory discussion. Just say, hey, can we have a chat and an open, honest chat because I'm concerned. And if your partner isn't open to that, then maybe that's the beginning of the downfall, right? Because when you start moving and doing things you feel like you have to hide and not be so transparent about, that's when the problems truly start. And I know there are a number of reasons why we do that, right? We do it because maybe they've reacted to something we were talking about and their reaction startled you, shocked you, gave you pause and or reason to be concerned. We're like, oh shit, well, I can't say this to you because this is what you said. Or maybe you guys were having a conversation about somebody who did something and you was like, oh bitch. And the response from your partner was, oh, if that ever happened to me, I would kill that bitch. Or that's kind of hard. Don't pew pew. Don't hurt anybody. But maybe you said something that was negative, right? That really made them feel this is no longer a safe space. So this is why, in this series, I started out, by calling it Grace or Gavel, talking about emotional intelligence, talking about protecting your peace and, trying to have a healthy build a healthy pattern as much as possible so that you can continue to keep your relationships thriving. I say that because, that relationship ending and then another one starting, now a few years into it, I can kind of see how that shift is happening here. Where it's like, there are certain things either we don't want to talk about because it's going to be a blow up, or we've got some communication challenges, or mindset styles, whatever the case may be, that really causes hesitation to have a conversation. But what I vow to do is to continue to be someone that talks, and I do talk, and I ask questions, and that may get on my partner's nerve. But if I don't do that, then how can I make sure I'm showing up, right? And if I don't do that, if I stop talking and I don't say anything, and I just don't give a response, and my response to you is sure all the time, that means I've clocked out. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. And it's pretty much the beginning to the end, beginning to it. I don't know if it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 6 years. I don't know, but it's the beginning of the downfall. If you friends with me or in a relationship with me, honey, and I stop talking, and I stop asking questions, and I stop being bold in, wanting to have a discussion about everything, or I feel like we can't talk about it because you blow up or you act a certain kind of way, then that should really cause concern with you. So the last conversation that I had with you guys on episode 10, I mean, excuse me, 9, where we were talking about the fuck was we talking about on episode 9? You see? Emotional fatigue. um I have a to do, I have a takeaway, I have a task. You have your libations. I got started without asking y'all if y'all have grabbed y'all libations or nothing. I just got right on into it. I am so sorry. Do you have your libation? I have mine. I just got off vacation, so my libation is here. Yes, and I have to keep my palate wet. So I have a to do, a takeaway, to have a conversation. Um, and sometimes it's difficult to have that follow up conversation because some people fall right back into everything's fine. We're over it. The moment was there. Now we're done. And that's not always the case. Not with me. We need to have a conversation. So I'm going to have that conversation and talk about how I feel and why I feel like we can't have certain discussions. And we're going to resolve it or not. And if we don't resolve it, then bitch, listen, that's the beginning to the end. And it is that. I've been through this enough to know that I'll mourn it and move the fuck on. But that's what happened in my first relationship. And then it got to a point where I was like, damn, so now you can't be honest with me. Now you're being deceptive or deceitful with me and not really showing up as your authentic self. And so now we have this issue. And I don't know about anybody else, but once you betray my trust, I don't care what you do. I can't trust you in that capacity again. Although I trust this person with everything else, right? I trust this person as who you're now a family member. We're family for life because we responsibly talked about it. We responsibly resolved it. We responsibly, or I'm not gonna say responsibly, but mutually went the other way. Or I feel that it was mutual. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. But I keep telling people when I'm done, I'm done. And ain't nothing you can do about it, right? But we're still friends. We're still amicable, and that is my family member now. Like you can't fuck with them. You can't say shit to him. I don't care. Whoever he decides to date after this, bitch, you better treat him right. Because if you don't, I'm gonna get you right. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's just kind of how it is. So, so yeah, there's that. So things shifted, and I moved into another situation, and I wasn't trying to get into that situation. I was trying to be free. I was trying to be in these streets. I was trying to be single. I was trying to have some me moments. You know, but it's people say when you're not looking, that's when you find it, and I wasn't looking. So, and I was delusional. I was delusional in after D-Day happened. I was delusional for a while. And so this episode is talking about delusions, okay? In this particular episode of the Savon Experience Pillow Talk, we are talking about the truth behind delusion. Yep. When does protecting your peace become denial? When does positive thinking keep you stuck instead of pushing you forward? That's an interesting one. When does positive thinking keep you stuck instead of pushing you forward? And why do we do it? Why do we do it? So, we're going to attempt to unpack the emotional layers behind fantasy thinking, healing affirmations, avoidance, and accountability. This is your call to get real while staying soft. Because I feel like you can be real and honest. Y'all, I don't think y'all understand that tag. Stay real, stay you, stay soft, stay Savon. Because that's how I'm trying to find a softer way to communicate. You don't have to be so crass in every communications, although sometimes if someone is not listening to you, their love language or their communication style may be crass 101. And so you have to give that to them. Don't deny them the opportunity to learn. Take a sip of your libation for that one, honey. Don't rob them of the opportunity to learn. Okay? So yes, girl. So tonight, once again, we are exploring the tight rope that we all walk. It's a very tight rope. Living in delusion, living in denial. But what I will say, not all delusion is toxic, okay? So sometimes we tell ourselves a softer truth to survive. Sometimes delusion or being delulu helps your survival skills, help kick in your survival instinct so that you can get through that moment. Sometimes we need a little delusional or a little delusion to protect our peace as well. And this is why you have to be very careful about the details you share with people about the intimate details of your situationship or your relationship. You have to have somebody you can speak safely with, but you also have to know that if that person is going to look at you crazy when you decide to stay in that situation, or if you're just venting, allow you to vent without judgment, right? But you gotta still be careful, right? Because we need a little delusion to keep our peace. A lot of us are delusional every day just to get through the day because the world is so fucked up right now. It really is. It's a really interesting world. A lot of things are happening right now that we want to be more proactive in, or that we are being proactive in, but we know we can't sit in that 24/7, 365 days a year. We can't do that. We have to pull back. We've got to um pull the lever a little bit and say, hey, this is too much. I can't watch a whole bunch of news all the time because news is nothing but negativity after negativity after negativity after negativity. Folk don't want to hear about great things. They don't want to hear about good stories. Every now and then, they want to hear everything that's going wrong in the world or going wrong around you. And although I feel that information is needed, shit, can we give it some balance? But that's left to us as the viewers. Because if we start turning that shit off and not listening to it and looking at it, and start actually helping the numbers when things positively are happening, those stations that share both the good and bad, run those numbers up. Y'all don't understand how we really do have the power, but a lot of us like the mess and we want to hear it, or we want to hear the bad shit that's going on. And I think we do need to hear it, but I also think we need to hear about the good stuff that's going on as well. And so we cater to it, and we influence it, and that's why we're here. So I a lot of times will live in a state of delulu. hmm I do. Delusional is my friend. It helps me. Being overly positive helps me not sit in depression. It helps me move forward and go through my day to day. I talked about on the last episode emotional fatigue, that a lot of people only focus in on the negative. They never give enough of the positive. They never give positive enough um, attention. You have to think about it. If your life is so freaking horrible all the time, that's unfortunate. That really is. If there is absolutely nothing you can find about your life that's good, that's bad. And I pray that things change. I pray that our perception, our interpretation of things, because a lot of times we can interpret a thing away. We can interpret it either the positive or negatively, and that's where Delulu lemon, honey. That's when she come in. Delulu is when you do that. But when the delusion crosses the line, how do we identify that? When that positive thinking turns into avoidance, we're going to have to do the work. We're going to have to figure out why we are avoiding the topic or the situation. Make a list of what happens if you address it, and what your fears are if you address it, and then what are the pros and cons to addressing it and not addressing it, is what I'm trying to say there. Look at that list, and then when you look at that list, and be honest with yourself. Sometimes, y'all, we can't be honest with ourselves because we don't want to know that honesty. A lot of people live in avoidance and live in delusion for a number of reasons. You can be in a relationship that you think is great. You're being delusional about it being great because you don't want to be alone. You don't want to be single. You don't want to come home to a house that's just you. You don't want peace in your life. Okay, that was kind of shady because everybody want peace in their life. They just, sometimes, bitch, they don't. They want toxicity. But you don't want to be alone. You want to have somebody in your life, and then you have to ask yourself that question. Well, shit, if I have to go through all this bullshit with it though, like, is it a good life? Is having a life full of trials and tribulations and not enough wins, but a lot of losses, a lot of arguments, a lot of sad moments, not enough happy moments? Is that the reality that you want for yourself? And then you're going to complain about that too. So then, sometimes you got to be miserable alone versus miserable with somebody. But somebody may feel like, hey, I'd rather be miserable with somebody than myself. That is your prerogative. That is your business. That is your decision. And you make the decision that makes you happy. Okay? And learn how to keep all those problems to yourself, because you're going to have some friends that ain't going to, they don't enjoy all that drama all the goddamn time. So you got to pick and choose what you say and how you say it. And if you're a real friend, you gonna be real protective of your friend who's going through some shit, and you're not gonna like the person who's at the root cause of that shit. But you're gonna have to be able to tap into your emotional intelligence and when to speak and when not to speak to give them feedback, because when they get unmad and they happy again, they gonna want you back on board being the participating, accepting friend. And that's hard to do, trust me. I ain't mastered it yet, but I've learned that, listen, they're happy. So if they're happy, I'm happy. I ain't got to deal with it. They do. It's not my problem. I'm not giving them unsolicited responses because they didn't ask for them. If you ask for them, I'm gonna ask you, do you want what are you in the mood for? And don't ask me for the truth and then get mad because what I said to you, because if that's the type of friend you are, you don't need to ask people the truth. You should never do that, because if your feelings is gonna get hurt in your butt, you're gonna be butt hurt about it, and you're not gonna forgive the person for speaking a truth, and you ask for it. You a piece of work. You got some work to do. You should probably never ask that question because you really don't want to know. So when let's get back to the topic. When the positivity turns into avoidance, we've got to now talk about when delusion is a defense and when it's denial, right? And there's a fine line between being a defense to protect your peace and when it's denial because you're avoiding all the shit that you need to deal with because you don't want to lose a relationship, you don't lose a friendship, or you don't want a confrontation. It could be a number of reasons why you don't want to have that moment. You could be a non-confrontational person, but if it's not something you can get over and then be able to remain having a good friendship, then it's going to have to be something you have to address. Don't wait until you get pissed off, because then it's not fair to that other person who may not have realized that was a problem. And a lot of people do that for a number of reasons. Either they're not good at conversating, so they wait until they get pissed off. Okay, well, you do that if you want to. That's okay. When that person blow up and talk funky to you, then you can't get mad at that either because you sprung it on them. You sprung it on them, honey. I've been talking. We got 8 minutes to get through the rest of these topics, so it may be a little more than 30 today. I'm just going to apologize, y'all. A key point: defining delusion in context. What does that mean? Delusion has two faces. I think we've talked about it, right? You've got the protective face, which is when you're protecting your peace. And then you have the destructive, when it's more of a denial, you're ignoring things, right? Protective is when we use optimistic thoughts to reframe the pain. And that is protecting your peace, protecting your feelings, protecting your ability to continue. If it's a job situation where you can make, I gotta work, I gotta do this for my job. So I don't have the luxury of thinking any other way other than moving to get myself out of this job into another job. You get what I'm saying? But you can't sit in that too long too, because then it becomes destructive. Destructive is when we ignore reality and avoid the growth. So what's an example of that? You're having an argument with someone or you're having a disagreement with someone, and you know some things are going to have to be talked about because either some things were said and or done and you're not happy with that. That's not how you can deal with that. That's not, you can't, it's really treading lightly or closely to your boundary, your what do we call it, your unnegotiables. Okay. Your deal breakers. That's what I was trying to remember. When we ignore the reality so much and it avoids growth in the relationship, that person is not, or the situation isn't allowing either parties to grow, learn from it, and not wash and rinse, repeat with that same behavior. That's when it's destructive. That's when it's going to cause some problems. Now, we all lie to ourselves a little bit. Of course, we do. But the trick is to knowing why you're lying to yourself and being honest about it. And it's not going to be truthful if, you're not honest about why you lying to yourself. I stayed in my relationship after the incident. One, because I wasn't sure I was ready to give up on the relationship because, we all make mistakes, and I really do try to be fair in situations like that. And sometimes I get on my fucking nerves about myself. It really does. I'm also somebody that I'm not gonna move from a situation, and I tapped on this in our last episode in related to emotional fatigue. I'm not gonna leave a situation or say I'm gonna leave a situation until I'm ready to leave a situation. I'm not one of those people. We're not gonna break up and get back together, break up and get back together, break up. I don't do that. I don't do that. Now, what I do is I'll probably be in a situation longer than I fucking need to be. I probably should have left that motherfucker a long time ago, or that situation, whatever it is, not the ex that I'm talking about. But anything, I can stay in it too fucking long. But the one thing about me is when I'm done with that situation, I'm done because I have executed plan A, understanding A through Z. I have done everything, including look like a fucking fool. And the thing about me, I don't give a fuck who I look like a fucking fool to because, bitch, y'all, they don't do shit for me. This is about me, you know? And so this is why you've got to be very honest with yourself about why you're being delusional and why you're lying to yourself and address it. Okay. So I didn't know I wasn't ready to get back out there because the dating scene, I'm just gonna be very honest, it is crazy. You got a lot of pretenders out there, a lot of fakes, a lot of people walking in new relationships with traumas, thinking they're okay, and then bringing a whole lot of shit into it. And, oh, it's just a lot. And so sometimes the devil is the devil you stay with, right? But then it got to points where it was just like, I'm really not happy. I'm not getting anything that in a relationship that you should be getting in a relationship. I am wasting time. I have more time, most likely, behind me than I do ahead of me, although I would like to think I've got a lot of more time left. We never know. And if today was the last day of my life, would I be okay with what I've done thus far with this particular person? Or would I feel like I've been robbed and or cheated? And so I made the decision that, listen, I can't do this anymore. It's not working for me. I'm not fulfilled. Um, and once someone deceives me with intention and you didn't have to, that was the biggest part of the situation. No lies had to be told. It wasn't needed and or required, but it was. And so, you know, it was like, oh shit. Uh-uh. You laugh for no goddamn reason. That's stupid. That's crazy to me. And it was on top of everything else, right? So I was like, we're better as friends, and that's what we did. And so you've got to be honest with yourself about things, and you do have to make some hard decisions to make yourself happier in life, especially if you're really looking to find someone who's going to give you what you feel you need. You're gonna have to open yourself up to that. You can't stay in a situation until that person comes along, because then what does that look like? You with somebody and then you talking to somebody. Somebody might be okay with that, but then it looks like you're cheating, and then you never know how that's gonna ha- ride out. There's an old saying is that you lose them how you got them. So look at how you get someone and where you got them and where you found them, because a lot of times it's going to be where you lose them. Be aware of it. That doesn't mean give people chances. It doesn't mean not to give people chances, but just be very aware of the pros and cons in any situation. You should always assess those things. Some people go all the way in with all of the, oh my God, this is so great. Everything is great in the beginning. Everyone is showing up with their this is gonna go over 30 minutes. Everyone is gonna show up with their representative. So, you know, when you realize why you doing it and you understand what the difference is, then you have to start making some making sure that you have healthy delusions, right? So healthy delusions, a temporary safe place. It's temporary, right? There are moments in life where reality is too loud and your peace is extremely fragile, right? Your confidence is cracked. So you create a softer version of reality to get through that moment. That is protective delusion, right? We do a lot of that, especially, I'll say I do a lot of that in a multitude of areas. You know what I'm saying? Um, let's say you're working on a project and you tell yourself, I'm not behind, I'm just working on my own timeline. Okay, that's great. But are you going to make the deadline that's been given to you? Are you going to be able to get it? The delay is divine, right? In that instance, because I'm not behind, I'm on my own timeline. As long as you're still treading towards the timeline and the deliverable date, cool. No need to give yourself a whole bunch of shit because you're behind. Just get unbehind. Take that moment and get caught up, right? So that you don't have to deal with that. That way, that is one of those what we call when we say the delay is a divine and not a denial, because in that instance, great. This is the kind of delusion that's graceful, right? It's rest. It's needed sometimes. I said on one of my other episodes, I said, listen, you don't feel you tired, you need a moment, you don't feel like doing them dishes or cleaning the house. Okay, well then go lay your ass down. Fuck them dishes. Fuck cleaning the house. It'd be all right. Have you a game plan to do it later. Give you that moment. It's okay to recharge. But destruction or destructive delusion, that's where growth stops. It stops. This is the flip side, right? Delusion becomes dangerous when you stop evolving, right? When you refuse accountability. So let's say you was living in so much delusion and you didn't get the timeline, you didn't meet the timeline, the deadline, and they got your ass together, whoever it is, or you had the consequences of it. You have to be able to realize that delusion was more destructive than protective, right? If you are in a relationship and you are ignoring red flags, you know what I'm saying? You're giving way too much grace, and you kind of feel when you're giving way too much grace, right? And you're ignoring those red flags and you're choosing the fantasy over the facts that's been laid out, because see, facts are just that, they're facts. So if you're looking at a situation and let's say didn't meet the deadline, and whoever you're talking to that you were supposed to deliver to is giving you a time of things that you didn't do that you could have done. Those are facts. Own it and do better. If you're in a relationship with someone, you're doing all these red flags and then things happen, okay? But the things that they're doing, those are red flags. You're seeing them. It's the truth. You just choose to ignore it for whatever reason. Only you know why you're ignoring that, right? But that's when your peace or that moment of delusion becomes a prison. It's a prison. And then you start feeling like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do because I want to stay, but I can't stay. I can't go, and I don't need to stay, but I'm gonna be alone if I leave. And they really love me, but they doing all this other shit that don't really show that they really love you, not the way that you would want to be loved. And so you just make yourself believe that all the shit that they say to you is real, but all the shit that they do to you is what? Because when their actions don't align with their words, that's telling. You have to stop ignoring that shit. When the action doesn't align with the word, I would rather someone be there, show up for me when I need them to, be very thoughtful about me, be very intentional about it, just be wonderful, and just never tell me that they love me. And I may need to hear that you love me, but when I see that you love me, because when I need something, you drop everything and you're there. If there's a problem, you fix it. If I communicate an issue to you, you resolve it. Your action shows that you would drop anything from me because you love me, that you're not cheating on me, you're not disrespecting me. Like, sometimes people have some traumas around saying they love, and that's what you got to talk about it. Y'all got to talk about it and know when it's something else, right? But this is their action, right? So you don't want to become a prisoner of all the bad deeds and the dangerous, being in a dangerous denial state for so long, to where, or if you're procrastinating on everything, now that procrastination is like, it's not protecting, it's dangerous because you might have some pretty bad consequences to that. Ignoring someone's extreme temper for nothing at all, little things, is a red flag, right? You ignore those enough, and the next thing you know, the most minute thing you do, they tap you. You know what I'm saying? Like, now it's become physical. That was a red flag that you didn't see, and now it's a problem, right? Um, you see that let's say you're in a dating situation, and you see that, oh, they love you and they say all these things, but their actions is something else. They have pictures of people in their phone and videos and chats and things like that doesn't align with someone who's really focused on you. And then when they cheat on you, okay, you shocked that they cheated on you with someone who was like, or the person that was in the chat, or if they say they like you but everything that they look at is opposite of you, you gotta kind of question, is that, are they being authentic right now? I know we can tap into DL men, and that's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode because they with you, but they on their phone, and then they DMs is a whole lot of people that don't look like you, right? That ain't you. They don't quite have the same thing that you have, and so you're like, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it, friend. Divas and Jivas and scholars. You cannot ignore it. The signs are there. You have to acknowledge them. So that's when that delusion is destructive and you're not growing. They're not growing. So you have to ask yourself the right questions. And here's how you check yourself. Okay? So asking yourself the right questions, and these are the questions you ask yourself. Is this belief, or excuse me, is this belief helping me grow? Is it helping give myself more grace so that I'm not so OCD about something, but I'm still yet able to get it done and there aren't any negative consequences to it? Am I delaying a truth that I need to face? Am I not trying to have this conversation right now because I know it's going to end in us breaking up because I'm going to learn, or end in the friendship, or end in a fight, ending the friendship, or end in a fight, or something that's so negative that you're like, I don't want to face that. Okay, you could be delaying the truth that you need to face. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Is this comfort or cowardice? Because that's real too. And I think the word coward gives, I think it's a bad association or a bad descriptive word. Is it adjective? Yeah, I think it's an adjective. Bitch. Descriptive word. Cowardice. Because people can think you not saying something, being emotionally responsible, you not reacting because you're emotionally intelligent. They can take that as cowardice, and that's on them because they can fuck around and find out too. But you have to ask yourself those three questions to kind of check your reasonings behind what you do, to understand if that delusion is protective or destructive. You can lie to the world, but one thing that you cannot do is live. Oh, excuse me. About to fuck up my statement. You can lie to the world, but can you live with lying to yourself? And I think that's the biggest challenge, because a lot of people lie to the world, posting things like they just the Don Dada, the grand master, they live in this great life, honey. The relationship is relationshiping, you know what I'm saying? The money is moneying, honey. The life is lifing. And how many people have we seen who bravely put all of their life out there for us to see and play out in front of us. And then we see what was happening behind the scenes and how it was direct opposite, because that's life. Not everything that we showcase to people is the truth. You cannot believe everything you hear, read, and or see, especially on social media. Because baby, the way we know how to edit some shit, the way that we know how to place set some shit up, unless you are there 24/7, you don't know. And that's why it's so hard for reality stars in relationships, because it's always, the cameras are always there, and then they can show things even though they happened. They can present them or position them in such a way where it looks different, or you're not ready for everything that the people have stated in response to what they saw. So that can break you apart too, because everybody's all in your business, as little Scrappy would say. So asking yourself the right questions will definitely help you identify the difference between the two and why you do what you do. Emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Let's talk about that real fast because we're at 40. Sorry. We talk a lot about grace and emotional intelligence on this show. I don't think that you guys are confused. And we talk about self awareness being a part of that. You can't grow if you're pretending there's no room to grow. You can't evolve if you're scared to look in that mirror, right? And look at yourself. Um, Delusion without awareness is self sabotage in a cute outfit. Girl, some people are self sabotaging in designer because they know they can't afford that shit, or they know that's not the right way to spend their money, but they look good doing it. They look good being delusional. They look rich. They have more money on them than they have in their account. I have so been there. Shit, I probably got more money and assets than I do in my account. Well, we're learning, so you live and you learn, right? But that's a thing. And so you see how I self reflected. You see how I looked at my situation and gave myself grace, and was like, okay, girl, you used to, because I used to do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it looked like, and it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. I shared it with you. It didn't hurt, girl. A lot of rich people, honey, you'll never know they rich, honey. They house look real. A lot of people with nice houses. You see on the outside is so nice. You go on the inside, there's no furniture, or the house is nice on the inside, and you realize you have more of a net savings account than they do. But they have all of the things. Who's winning in that situation? I think that is really based on someone's opinion. Like that's your truth. That's on them. They may feel like they're winning because they have everything that they need, and you may feel like you're winning because if anything was to happen, you've got everything you need in your bank account to sustain. Well, they can probably sell some of that shit. I mean, it's just about views and observations, right? So, you know, you have to be able to know when you're pretending and there's no room to grow. I'm going to give you an example of both types, right? Speaking affirmations to fight imposter syndrome is examples of things that you can do to kind of help. And these are healthy types of delusions. Sorry, I didn't set that up right. Healthy delusions are speaking affirmations to fight imposter syndrome. A lot of people don't feel like they deserve to be there. I felt like that for a long time. And when you begin to know yourself and walk into your truth, things like that change. Visualizing a better future to stay motivated. That is one thing that I always do. I always look at the positive. I always look at how I can do better, how I can be better, how what I'm doing right now is not going to be, my truth forever, right? It's going to get better. I'm working toward that end. But you have to not just be delusional, you have to make sure you're doing something to work to that end. If you're in debt right now and you're like, hey, I'm not going to be in debt forever, then the way you do that is draw you up a budget, a plan that will help address your debt in a timeline, right? Given that there are no incidentals that come through to devastate the budget, right? You work and you stick to it. You don't buy other shit. You don't let all that other noise. You stick to your budget. And whatever you have to do, turn off the TV, turn off the shopping channel, not look at certain things. Look, camera. Get there you go. You gotta do that sometimes. Um to make sure you stay on task, you have to do that so you can stay in your budget. Look at your goal. Look at what you want. If it's a house you want to buy, look at the house that you want. And when you have that urge to spend more, do I want this house or do I want this? Whatever this item is, I want this house, so let me do that. You can still have vacations and things like that. Save up for them, pay them off before they get here. That's what I say. Have your little budget when you go shopping so you can shop on. Then make sure you have a game plan to pay that off before your next trip. You can do it as long as you do it if you ball on a budget. Destructive examples of destructive delusions. Staying in toxic relationships because they'll change. Will they? Ooh, that stung a little bit. Overspending and calling it self-care when it's financial avoidance. Oh, I feel attacked. Why did I do this episode, girl? Oh my God, I feel so attacked. Bitch, you talking about self. I know. But this is going to heal us all, so we got to get it out there in the open. We do. We do. So your assignment is reflect on where in your life are you using delusion as protection? Where might it be holding you back? What truth have you been avoiding? Write it down, speak it aloud, and then unpack it. Do the work. Start unpacking and understanding why you're doing that. Okay? You got to do that. It's okay to wrap your pain in something soft, like gauze while it heals. But just don't forget to unwrap it eventually so it can get some air and truly heal. Okay? You got to do it. This week check in with your coping mechanisms. Ask, is this helping me survive or evolve? And the answers may change your life, may change everything in your perspective. Okay. This, honey, has been the Savon Experience Pillow Talk. One little over, but we love you. We're all wear a little delusion because, damn it, I fucked that up. I'm going to start over. This is live, honey. I told you it's unfiltered. This has been the Savon Experience Pillow Talk. We all wear a little delusion just to make sure that the delusion fits into your healing that you're praying for, right? So until next time, stay grounded, stay open. Don't forget to stay soft and stay Savon, okay? Y'all, I don't want you to be like me, but I want you to try like me. And that's all we can do. Have a good night and see you on the next episode. If you feel that this really helped you, it hit a spot in your core, in your soul, and you know somebody who could use it, send it to them. And if this message was sent to you, don't get mad at them. They're trying to help. Absorb it. And if you got upset, ask yourself, why do you feel attacked? That means something in this touched you. So let it do its work. Y'all have a good night. Bye. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Remember, grace isn't just for others, it's for you too. Until next time, this has been the Savon Experience Pillow Talk Solo Edition. Be kind, be soft, be you.
No mask, no noise, just my truth in the dark. Laid back whispers straight from the heart. Let the world now come and walk this walk. You're deep inside the Savon Experience. Pillow talk, pillow talk.